Hey everybody, I am back with Leanne Ely of Saving Dinner, who is not only a dear friend, but someone who is really making a difference in this world, teaching people how to cook, get back in the kitchen, and really connect with food again. Leanne, welcome to the Summit.
Thanks so much for having me, Pedram.
Hey, so we mentioned this a lot in the movie, and we really circled around how nasty all the toxicity is and how challenging it is really to get around on our planet without picking up bad stuff. But the problem is, in the last couple generations, we've really lost our connection with the kitchen, and I know that's your mission in life in a lot of ways, is to get people back in there. And my generation, I remember being in the college dorms at UCLA, and no one knew how to cook. None of the kids in my generation knew how to do anything other than microwave. And so, there's a stiff learning curve for a couple generations here. And you're really on the forefront of helping people turn that around. I'd love to hear how you got into that and how we can help everyone who's listening step out of this nonsense of, bad food because you don't know any better type of mentality.
Yeah, I think we have to step away from, well, gee, I was never taught, so therefore, that's my excuse. Therefore, they continue this crazy notion that not knowing how to cook is okay, and it's not. Just because that was your unfortunate situation doesn't mean that it needs to perpetuate into the next generation. I came from a family that cooked. I had a crazy English father who liked cooking all these gourmet, nasi goreng, Indonesian food, Indian food, whatever. He liked all of these wild things. He took me frog hunting. You know what we did with those, right? We ate frog legs.
Mm-hmm.
He took me when I was little, like 6 years old, and that was part of my being raised. So I was always the kid that ate all the weird stuff. My mother was a good old-fashioned, made great, family favorites that we all know. And as soon as I was old enough, I was stirring things, putting seasoning in things, and helping in the kitchen. I learned by my parents, both parents' sides. So I have that fortunate background. What I've noticed, though, was when I had my own catering company, there was this big, huge disconnect between my catering clients and my, and what I knew. And I saw just the second generation behind me where these moms were saying, I just don't know how to cook, and my kids just graze, they don't really make meals, they didn't sit down. And I thought, it's all disconnected. So not knowing how to cook means that a meal's not getting put on the table, meaning that a family's not connecting, and we have this spiral of disconnection. And so where do we begin is really the question. And the question is, if you don't have the skills, get them. And they're pretty simple and pretty basic and pretty easy, really.
Well, that's just it. I mean, it seems like it's a hell of a lot more work being sick and tired and, worried about your weight all the time than it is just learning how to cook and connecting back with the kitchen and, bringing produce into the house. And so, why such a stiff learning curve in people's minds, and how can we dispel that to make this easier?
Well, I think that's really interesting, because one of my pet peeves in life is you pick up any of these basic cookbooks and, it's the size of a dictionary. They're telling you how to proof yeast. They're telling you how to do this and do that. All these cooking skills you just don't need, really. At the end of the day, you're interested in making a meal and getting your family to the table. You're not interested in multi-layered, multifaceted parts of cooking that have nothing to do with your real life. So if we could just circle that, go back to that, what we need are basic skills. We need to know how to use a knife. We need to know which knife to use for what. We need to know how to care for those knives so we're safe with them, and we need to know how to refrigerate and keep food safely. We need to know how to choose it. That's it. That's all there is to it, which really is an oversimplification, but I want to oversimplify it just to show and to prove that it's not as crazy as those big ass books that everybody goes, whoa, wait a minute, I can't possibly understand what to do with all of this. And you have to fish and find those things that are going to help you. And, 3/4 of that book you don't need.
You know what? I find that really interesting because I can relate to that in that, you think of cookbooks, you think of, trying to be a cordon bleu chef, right?
Right.
And for me, part of the reason I didn't cook when I was younger was because it wasn't just the cooking. Then it was like this cleanup, and you have 10 skillets and pots and all this crap everywhere, right? But if you're cooking simply and cooking healthy food, you can really minimize the setup, the cooking, and the cleanup, it seems.
Absolutely. Just a few skills, in cooking school, if you will, and in the whole chef's domain, there's this one terminology called mise en place, which basically just means everything in its place. And all you're doing is gathering up all the things that you're going to need to make a meal. So you've got your cutting board, you've got your knife, you've got your ingredients, you've got the skillet sitting down on the stove, and you've got absolutely everything you need right there at your fingertips. So you're not ping-ponging all over the kitchen and saying, oh, I forgot this, and gosh, I got to go open a can of tomatoes now. And, you've read the recipe, you're prepared, you've got everything sitting there, and then it's just a matter of following directions, which is pretty darn basic and pretty darn easy.
I love that. You know what?
Yeah.
As part of the success kit for the summit, one thing that I'd like to include here is if you can help me put together just a list of basic kitchen items that someone would need to get started on the cheap, the medium, and the expensive.
Sure.
Because if I'm living, a simple New York life, and all I do is get Chinese takeout, I don't even have utensils a lot of times. And that's obviously, I'm now a family man and we cook all the time, but I know these people. I grew up with these people.
Sure.
I have a friend that has one fork in his house and he's a doctor. Right? So yeah, I would love to have you help me design that out.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic idea. Really good idea. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, because it's just, I've in my history of having these conversations with people, some of the stuff that I've seen, I'm in a clinical environment just talking. It's like what a lot of these cookbooks are missing is the shame that certain people feel because there's 6 steps outside of the room to even be in the dialogue. It's because they don't even know where to start. So I'd love to kind of start there and then tiptoe our way back in because, man, it's if you're in your 30s or 40s and you still don't know how to cook, it is kind of embarrassing.
It's embarrassing and it's intimidating because it seems absolutely overwhelming. And I like to really bring it down to the whole basics of really what you need. Honestly, if you had a French knife, a paring knife, a cutting board, and a couple of skillets and, a salad spinner, you're pretty much good to go, pretty much good to go. So
and that's really empowering because, it's not easy living life in the modern world. We're all so dang busy. So what are your suggestions about how to do this quickly in a healthy way on a budget and doing it in a way where it's still fun and it makes it less of a chore because you're connecting with people?
Well, one of my favorite things, my husband and I do this, is when I'm not traveling and home, we go to the farmer's market every Saturday. I love the farmer's market. You connect with community, you connect with the farmers who are actually growing it. You even go out to their farm and see everything. I think it's really empowering for you as an individual. Can you imagine what it's like for your children to see all of this and to understand, wow, that potato, you had to dig that out of the ground, and the tomatoes are on this, fabulous big green, bush where there's these big green caterpillars. I mean, all of the things that when they can see this themselves, they're going to relate to it more. We connect more. It's part of our community. I think that's one of the biggest things that we can do. The way to keep it inexpensive, too, is to understand and know your prices, obviously, but also to step back and to pay for things that, I'll give you an example. This is where I'll pay. I will go to Costco and I will buy a big tub of organic baby spinach. I won't buy it at the farmer's market because it's full of dirt. I've got to buy 10 of those bunches of spinach in order to get the same amount of spinach that I'm getting here. And, the other thing is it's going to cost me way more. Whereas I'll buy the kale that was just grown for $1 a bunch, and it's not from an organic farm. It's from a farm that doesn't use pesticides, right? So I get to pay cheap prices for that versus buying it at the local grocery store for $2.99 a bunch. So those are the kind of things that just whatever makes sense for you. You need to have things that are fast and easy and just boom, I can do that really quick. And you need to also have a place where you're connecting with the community. They all blend together. I don't think it's one without the other. I think it's both.
I really like that. We have bought the big tubs of spinach from Costco, and I do travel a lot. So what'll happen is, we'll go do a Costco run, and then Daddy will leave town for 5 days, and she can't possibly eat that much spinach, and then it goes bad. So we've had to modulate the other way and say, okay,
right.
Look, let's buy smaller things of spinach when I'm not in town and
right.
work around that. But that just requires having a better sense of who's there, how often you're going to be hungry, what you're going to eat, and kind of think about it a little further ahead than say, oh crap, I'm hungry. Is that a Carl's Jr.? Great.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's where we always default to the thing that makes us feel guilty, right? The default plan is no plan at all. And so if we have a plan in place, the old saying, fail to plan, plan to fail, or plan to fail to plan, is whatever, however it goes. Say it for me.
Failure to plan is planning to fail.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just needed somebody to straighten out the language. But the point is that we plan everything, right? We plan, we're getting out ready for a trip. We make our reservations in advance. We get to the airport and we do our thing at the airport. We board the plane in advance. Whatever it is that we're doing, that's all done in advance, well in advance. Why don't we have that same kind of a mindset with, well, here's what we're going to do for dinner. Here's what we're going to have leftovers to make for lunch. Instead of throwing all that good food out, and we waste 40% of what we buy. We waste it. It goes down into the trash and into the landfill. And like what you said with spinach, I totally get that. I've done it myself. And that's something too. You downshift when you need to so that you're not going to be throwing it away. And then you accelerate when you need to so that you have more of what you need when everybody's home. But the plan is so critically important, and it's part of our routine. It's part of what we do. It's like every morning you get up, you wash your face, you brush your teeth, you floss your teeth. That's part of our hygiene. That's part of our hygiene too. Our food hygiene is just as important as what we do for our bodies.
I love that. So there's so much I want to talk about around this, because this is where America and the West stumbles, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of this has to do with our rituals, because most people's rituals at this point revolve around a television set and a show or a series of shows that they must watch because they're hooked on some sort of story, because TV is more interesting than their life. But what happens is then it lulls you to sleep so that you come home, you watch your show, you don't think about your food, you don't plan your food, you watch your show while eating your food, and it takes us away from facing each other face to face and having human interactions and really being genuine human beings. So I'd love for you to talk about the family/social connection that comes with, because you've helped hundreds of thousands of people at this point with this, and I'm sure you see just crazy connection stories all the time.
It's so true. And the thing that happens is when you start to do one thing right, the other things fall into place. We worry about the nutrition, and people will get all, knotted up about, gee, is it organic or is it not? Well, how about instead is, definitely have an understanding about organic and non-organic, what you can and what you cannot eat. But instead putting together I just want to connect with my family. I just want to be back at the dinner table with them. I just want to find out how they're doing. I'm more interested in how they're doing than some reality series. I don't care about the Kardashians. I'm sorry. I honestly do not care about them. But there's this interesting, you just pointed it out, this interesting thing of how we're so wrapped up in a television show, and yet we're not wrapped up in our own families and those connections. That is a real connection. The other stuff is not. We need to get back to that and start realizing that our relationships do matter. And we can make that happen feed our families, do it better all at the same time. And it all gets back to, we've got our plan, we buy the food for the plan, we bring the family into the kitchen. And I think one of the biggest problems that we have as family members, as people, is that one person, and usually it's the woman, takes on the whole burden of planning, buying, cooking, cleaning up, and then she feels really put out. Her nose is out of joint, never really says it, but there's this like small resentment going on, or bigger resentment going on. And really, feeding a family is a family project. Everyone needs to be involved. I don't care how old they are. I mean, take, your little baby, you could take Soul to the the farmer's market, and this is cauliflower, and it starts at that age. This is what we do. This is our identity. This is who we are as a family. And you connect with procuring it together, preparing it together, and then you're not in the situation where, I don't know if you ever saw it, Jamie Oliver did this whole food revolution thing. He had a bunch of kindergartners who could not identify a potato or a tomato in his hand. They don't identify with it because that's not part of their culture. And what I'm saying is food preparation and eating and procuring and all of it needs to be a part of our family culture, because then everything up levels naturally.
Yeah, it's funny, you think about what cartoons used to be like when we were kids, right? Mm-hmm. And, the original Disney cartoons were like animals and farm animals and things that were, connected with people who were a bit more of an agrarian society. Yeah. And all you got to do is look at like the cartoons of our modern day, and it's all just like, Cybo Robotron and like weird, like, fantasy elements that have nothing to do with earth food or any of it, and you wonder why the kids are crazy. And so we're going to have a rule going in that there's just zero electronics at the table with the kid, no texting, no nothing, right? But I know right now there's probably 10, 20,000 people listening to this going, oh my goodness, we sit at the table and both kids are on their computer games or their phones and they're texting and they're doing this. Like, how do I stop the insanity if it's already kind of, inside the castle walls?
Well, you have to sit down with your family, and you have to just say, gosh, I just have this really, this thing, especially, obviously the kids have to be, of an age where they can have a little bit of abstract thinking going on, and just say to them like 9, 10, 11 years old, and just say, gosh, even younger than that, but I just have this really disconnected feeling. We sit at the table, and, I've got my iPhone, you've got your game and everything, and can we just put those down? Let's make a pact as a family. Heck, we want to be together. We're a family. This is a privilege. This is an honor. Here's a basket. Let's everybody put their, electronics in there and then get them after dinner. But until the dinner is made, served, and cleaned up, those things need to stay in the basket. And I think if we had that kind of a rule as a family, it might help a lot.
Yeah, it's without human connection, I watch the parents of the kids as they come into my clinics complaining about their kids, and I watch the parents going, well, what do you think they're emulating? Right? Right. I fight with this every day. I got a 6-month-old kid, right? And he's looking at me wanting to engage with his father. Right. And my phone's doing this thing. It's beeping. I'm a busy dude, right? So it's like, there's an email. There's a text. I better deal with that. And I've had a few instances already in the last couple months where I'm just like, monkey, no. Stop it. This child is trying to engage with you as his father, and you're too busy for him, so that then all of a sudden you're like, why is he acting out? Of course he's acting out. He's dying for some human connection, and we're the ones that are depriving our children of that connection on the front end, and then we're pissed at them for texting at the dinner table? It doesn't make sense. Right.
You're absolutely right. And you've seen it over and over. I've seen it over. I was in a restaurant. We were traveling in California. We were going in wine country. And I was in a restaurant watching this family, and I'm thinking they're on vacation just like we are. It's in Los Olivos, right above Santa Barbara, beautiful. And the family, everybody had their handheld, iPhone, whatever, they're all texting or doing whatever on their phone, and there's absolutely nothing coming out of that table. And I watched and I timed, and I told my husband, I'm going to time and see how long this takes. They didn't talk until their food got there. And then, thankfully they put their stuff down. But I thought, wow, here they are in the wine country. I know they're on vacation just like we are. Why not have an engaged conversation? Wow, wasn't that really cool what we saw? Maybe they did it in the car. I don't know. But we are too connected to our phones and to our handheld devices. We're connected to those, but we're disconnected to our family. And children, that's their whole thing. They did a study, and I know you've seen this study, about children and the eyes and the connection between the eyes. And when they connect eyeball to eyeball, that's how they know that they're loved. That's where they start thriving. Failure to thrive is failure to having that connection, and there's no eyeball contact.
Oh, I love this. So how do we bring it back? Because I feel like so many of the people listening to this summit, they watch the movie and they go, holy crap, okay, I'm scared, I'm getting poisoned, I need to clean something up.
Yes.
And now, what do I do and where do I even start? Because it seems so insurmountable. I mean, we've had absent presence for so long that, food's a great place to start and family's a great place to start. Like, how do we start wrapping that all in?
Connecting with our food and connecting with our family is a really great project. There's simple things that you can do. Even if you lived right smack dab in the middle of New York City, you can do some sprouts on the countertop and discuss that with your children and just watching the growing process. I think there's, you of course know all about earthing and everything. I think earthing is fantastic, but I think there's a continuum, if you will, of earthing, and that is getting our hands into the earth and being a part of seeing things that grow from our hands. We don't necessarily have to have huge vegetable gardens. We don't necessarily even have to have, a little planter full of lettuce leaves. What we do need to do, though, is acknowledge how food is grown, show our children how food is grown, and have some appreciation and respect for it. This is the stuff that's going to feed our families and is going to optimize our health. Little baby sprouts you can do in a sprouter. It doesn't cost hardly anything, and yet it's huge. I mean, broccoli sprouts, well, you know how phenomenally amazing broccoli sprouts are for your health. Easy, anybody, anywhere can grow them. So connecting with our food, in essence, is connecting with our family if we bring them along with us. And just the conversations that can happen and the ability to say, hey, now we're going to put those sprouts, we're going to put a few of them into our smoothie in the morning. We're going to add them to some soup as we're eating it. We're going to put them on our salad. And there's this connection all the way through. And you can talk about what's there in these sprouts and why they're so effective with our health. And especially you're talking in terms with children, you can say what it's going to do to their bodies and how it's going to affect them. And can you see yourself thinking more clearly? And, you kind of plant these seeds of suggestive seeds in their heads, and they will start to embrace this as a way of life. So that's what you can do when you're starting, younger. Starting later is harder, and it requires a very real down on the level conversation of how you really feel. Instead of trying to look at it and figure out a way, how do I, put this in just a right way so I can kind of manipulate this situation, forget it. Just tell them how you feel. I feel disconnected. I feel like we've lost our way. I think this is a desperate time in it, and we really need to put this together. Have a family meeting. What are your ideas? What can we do? And I think, when we look at our little family as our little tribe and we figure out a way, how can we do things that are going to empower the family and getting them alongside and bringing them onto your side with a very real and heartfelt talk, that's how you get things done.
That's fantastic. And that heartfelt talk it's been a long time coming in most families. right? And
It
you know,
is.
we're just too dang busy, and you know, I just need to get through this quarter. I just need to get through this fiscal year. You know,
Exactly.
I'll make it right next year, and next year has its own burdens, and you know, a lot of it to me is a lot of just kind of fiscal irresponsibility. You know, we'll try to do things, and then we will forget that we have some goals, and then just go
Yeah.
buy some stupid thing that we impulsively, you know, need to buy, and all of a sudden we're still in financial stress, and then next year we're not as secure as we thought we were going to be, and that insecurity drives us to have that absent presence and still, you know, run
Mhm.
around like maniacs eating, you know, Taco Bell drive-through because we just got to get to the meeting.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times we're patching together our lives, and I hate to be so simplistic as to say, it all revolves around the food, but it kind of does. And it also boils down to, because that's such a basic need, and the basic people in our lives are our family. And we take all of these things for granted until one day something, God forbid, should happen to one of those people, or that something happens, that we're not getting the correct food in our lives. And then our worlds are rocked. I'm dealing with a friend right now who's, going through pancreatic cancer, and it's spread. It's in the kidneys, it's in the liver, it's in the lungs, and bad lifestyle choices, bad food, bad everything. And, the damage is done.
Mm. Yeah.
And, what do you say to somebody like that? We don't have to have that in our lives. And I know we keep going back to this and saying it's all about the food, it's all about the everything, but it's also about the family, and it's about bringing the people that you love along with you on your health journey, because that's the most empowering thing, is to be able to raise a generation of children who not only know how to cook, they know how to pick their food, and they know how to teach this skill along the way. The one that you didn't learn, now you get to learn, and you get to teach, and you get to pass it on. That's a family legacy.
I love that. I love that. Now you know, you were just recently at your daughter's wedding, and so you've
Yeah.
moved kids through this household already, and are, you know, looking at hopefully some grandchildren soon. Do you have grandchildren now?
No, not
No,
yet.
but yeah, looking at some grandchildren down the line,
Hmm.
and that legacy that you planted and that you kind of paid forward into your daughter, you know, the way you can look forward to seeing that in the grandchildren and how grandma's interaction with them would be, I think is just so powerful, because there's this whole other part to American lifestyle, which is, you know, you come from traditional cultures and the parents are honored and the parents are cherished and the parents are taken care of. And here it's like, you know, chuck them off to some, you know, some old age homes so they can kind of die on their own and not get
Hmm.
in your way. And that entire lineage of wisdom that they came from is lost, because in 2-3 generations, as the chemistry, better living through chemistry type of model started taking over, and they unplugged from the wisdom of the past, they really didn't stand for anything. So they actually did become borderline useless if they didn't have their hands in the dirt, and to their children, obviously not as human beings, because it wasn't progress. And now we're looking at all this progress, going, with progress comes pancreatic cancer sometimes. And
Yeah.
so what did we leave behind, and what wisdom is actually important to go back and grab?
That's so well said, Pedram. I mean, we've left a lot behind in our pursuit of bigger, better, more technology, more everything. I mean, there's a lot of information there, and we can use it to our advantage or we can use it to our disadvantage. And, of course, I love to see people empowered, and I Google all day long just like anybody else. But at the same time, I've got a garden growing in my backyard, and I don't need to have that garden growing in my backyard. I can well afford to go out and not have that garden growing out in my backyard, but I do it because I want to connect with what's there. I want to appreciate it. There's just something about, there's another level and another layer of appreciation for good solid nutrition and the sweat of your brow, if you will, for raising that food by itself, yourself. And then the other part of it, with your children and your grandparents, and that, I love what you said about, just tossing them aside and putting them into, an old people's home where they can die by themselves. I just recently brought my mother out from California, and she's living with me. And, it's had some challenges and what have you. But the wisdom that I see with her, and the being able to pass down this type of a skill also to my children who are helping with the care of my mom and all of that, and just the wisdom that she has to be able to extrapolate that out, and the community, the conversation, the richness of multi-generations. You can't get that on TV, and you can't get that in a box at the grocery store. You'll never have that. It's like if you decided with that beautiful son of yours that email was more important than having that interaction with your little boy, you're going to start cutting that heartstring little bit by little bit. And we need to connect. We need to get better connected with our families, our communities, our food, all of it. It all is, in the scheme, one big, gigantic, beautiful tapestry that we just cannot push away anymore.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That was really well said. And guys, this is what we're talking about. This is our origins, right?
Yeah.
We come from family. We come from tribe. We come from closer connection with the land. And this has been, not just a couple generations, but hundreds of thousands of years of living, breathing human lineage. And then in 2 generations, all of a sudden, screw all that. I'm going to get my beans in a can, and I'm going to eat it in the car. And it's just, it went insane really quickly.
Yeah. You're right. Absolutely. There was some movie, I wish I could remember the name of it, but it was some movie. It was created, I think, in the 90s or something. And it just showed that these people were put in space capsules, and they ended up the year 2438 or something, and all these people are watching all this crappy TV, eating all this crappy food, and they've nasty skin and nasty bodies, and it's kind of a caricature of where we are today, but blown up, 300 times. I wish I could remember the name of the movie, but I remember watching it. It was somewhat stupid, but I thought, you know what, that's exactly it. That's where we are right now. And, I think about just even family members that I know who have all this crazy, who have all these crazy, like weight problems and, like morbidly obese type things, and have all this stuff going on. And, what are they doing to fix this? It's like, well, you just got to get the right medication. And gee, I'm sorry, but that's really not the answer. You can only modulate symptoms for so long, but the real problem's pretty obvious. And that's what we've got today, right?
It's sad because we have all these weight loss plans. We have all of these bariatric centers. We have all of these plastic surgeons and dermatologists and endocrinologists. And there's these enormous industries on the medical side now making a living and scratching up where the big food is delivering, people that are broken and feeling horrible about themselves. And the whole damn thing is just one big hamster wheel. Not to say that if you're born with some endocrine disorder, your doctor isn't relevant. That's not what we're saying at all. We have a lot of doctors in the summit in the movie. This is, it's just about bringing sanity back to a system that's gone into a very dark and awkward direction.
It's so interesting too, because you and I both see it. We're watching the commercials for all these prescription medicines that are out there, and hoping that they're going to distract us while they tell us that it could cause us to go crazy or die suddenly, or bleed from our bottoms, whatever. You watch the insanity of this, and then they keep those medications keep being perpetuated, and they're on all the time, and it's for years now they're on, and they're on because they sell. If this campaign didn't work, they'd pull the plug on it.
Yeah.
But rather than quit smoking, try Chantrex. It could cause you mental illness, but go ahead and try it anyway. It could kill you, But go ahead. A pill. It's a magic pill. We have a magic pill mentality for everything. And we escape our reality by watching these reality TV shows. You know, the craziness of the whole thing, and then the crap on the grocery store shelves, it's like there's this huge, nutty conspiracy to suck your brain out and just to make you into a clone. And, you know, like lemmings off a cliff, we jump in all the way.
Like lemmings off a cliff. You know what is really interesting about lemmings is they make really, really good consumers. And so I think that is a piece that, you know, is kind of missing in this. And that's why we're doing this whole Take Back Black Friday, Green Friday thing, is everyone just assumes that the consumer is this buffoon idiot who's going to do whatever you want him to do, watch whatever you want him to watch, and you know, poison their children because they're not paying attention and you can get all their hard-earned money out of them. And that's how a lot of this industry is assembled. And so it's like this entire, like if you're in America and listening to this, our democracy was predicated on an enlightened citizenry, right? So if you don't know what's going on, you're not a part of the solution. You're just like a lemming falling off a cliff. And so a huge part of that is how you eat and what food decisions you make. And, you know, so what would be like the first steps if you're just like, holy crap, my kids are texting at the table. We have a bunch of, you know, junk food in the house. I don't even want you to look in my pantry. I'm ashamed. Like, where does someone like that start so that they can step aside from the shame, get out of the overwhelm, and just get going? I mean, do they go to the farmer's market? Like let's walk through how someone could come back from the cliff and say, I'm not going to be a lemming anymore.
Well, you know, it starts with a decision, of course. Right. And, you know, once the decision has been made, I think, and a lot of times, and you know this too, Pedram, a lot of times it's the woman leading the charge because it's, you know, she's the mother bear and these are her cubs. And there's this instinctual thing that comes in like, you know, hey, nobody's going to hurt my babies. And when you understand that it's your hand that's been feeding that food, you know, there's this like, holy crap moment. I can't do this. And you're right. It could be completely 100% overwhelming. But if you could just take a step back, my suggestion would be create a salad bar in your crisper. Get a bunch of, you know, little plastic things with, oh yeah, it's plastic. All right. But get over it. You know, just get some Rubbermaid or Tupperware, whatever you've got. You know, chop up some cucumber, get some good lettuce, ditch the iceberg, get some good lettuce. Just get it ready and start having a salad every day this week. Just start having a salad. Step away from the salad dressings. You know, the salad dressings, the commercial salad dressings, just a nightmare. Read the label. Start reading labels and just take a look at it. And you want to make a salad dressing? 3-to-1. Good quality olive oil, one part vinegar of some sort. There you go. You're done. You know, a salad is a good place. Add some soup to that. You put a lot of vegetables in some soup. Easy to make. Chicken broth, lots of veggies, put a lid on it. You're done, right? Those are two things that you can do because vegetables are the one place where we really don't get started on. And then, you know, there's tons of different things that you can do. But if you can start there, you're going to make less room for the junk in your life and more room for the good stuff.
That's fantastic. And from there, chances are you'll start feeling better. Chances are you'll start seeing how much easier it is than you thought. And chances are you will be inspired to do more of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Leanne, you have been doing such great work over there at Saving Dinner. Tell me a little bit about how you got into this.
You know, it was years ago, and I just basically was working with a woman named Marla Silly, who has this website called flylady.net, and she helps people get organized. And I used to do all the food writing for her. I still do 14 years later. And basically what happened was she had this big clean out kind of a thing going on where she was getting everybody really focused on getting rid of the clutter in their house. And she said, look, why don't you put some crock pot meals together? I said, sure. So I did 5 days of crock pot meals, and I said, I'll do one better. I'll put a grocery list with it. Well, I kind of took some time to do it, sent it out, and everybody went crazy over it. And they wanted me to do it every week. And I said, I'm not doing that every week. That's too much work. And Marla said to me, well, that's a business. And I went, yeah, it is. And that's how Menu Mailer was born. And we were the first, we are the original menu planning website on the internet. So came out in 2001.
Wow. You've been at this for a while.
You might say so.
Okay, so savingdinner.com, is that the best place people can find you?
Savingdinner.com is the best place they can find me. Yep. There's all kinds of free information. We do a blog every day. We have Menu Mailer, Premium Menu Mailer, where you can pick and choose. Menu Mailer is where it's done for you. And, we've got, we got tons of stuff.
Oh, yeah. No, wonderful. Hey, thank you so much for doing what you do. People, go find her, find out what Leanne's doing, and stay in touch with her. We're going to get your little suggestions for how to start your kitchen up into the Success Kit for the Summit. Guys, please buy the Summit Success Kit. This is what we're using to fund our Victory Gardens initiative in the spring. This is what we're using to help inner cities get clean produce in there and help get more content to you guys, and be able to put people like Leanne in front of you more often. So I don't ask often, but this is something that we're really passionate about. And so if you're watching this and you like it and go, hey, what is that she said? It comes with the transcripts. It comes with all of it. So we'd love for you to support that and support the people in here, and also by doing so support the people we're going to be helping for generations to come. Leanne, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pedram.
See you next time.